This is the East Lyme Board of Selectmen meeting. We're going to call the regular meeting now to order. Today is September 1st. How about that? We've already done the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, but if we could just take a short moment of silence for the servicemen and women who gave their lives for freedom this week. Thank you. Are there any additional agenda or consent items?
I don't have any.
Okay. Delegations. Anybody like to speak to the Board of Selectmen this evening? Anyone? There's time at the end as well. Okay. Approval of the minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve. August 4th?
I'll move to approve the regular meeting minutes of August 4th, 2021 as submitted.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any comments or corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
One abstention? Mr. Solera. Special meeting of August 9th.
Move to approve the special meeting minutes of August 9, 2021 as submitted.
Second?
It's been seconded. Comments or corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
And that special meeting on the 18th.
I'll move to approve the special meeting minutes of August 18th, 2021 as submitted.
Oh, second.
Made and seconded. Comments, corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
2 abstentions. That was a 3-minute meeting just to schedule the town meeting, which you all went to. That's how it works. We have a consent calendar for approval tonight.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar for the meeting of September 1, 2021 in the amount of $37,939.10.
I'll second that.
A motion has been seconded. Any further comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay. Great. We'll jump right into new business. We have a number of items, 4, 8, maybe 10 items that we are proposing to fund using the American Rescue Fund monies. They total $212,000. They're all, we believe, in our opinion and by our decision, they all meet the criteria of the American Rescue Fund. Very narrow definition of what's allowed. I'll just start at the top and work my way down. There is at least one edit we will make halfway down. So $54,338,000 is the Ledge Light Health District. That represents 1% of the monies we'll be receiving. Ledge Light Health District is requested all towns donate, if you will, or forward 1% of the funding to them. They do not have any funding coming from American Rescue. It is allowed as a supporting agency, and they have done remarkable work, like daily, during this whole COVID crisis. They have staffed up, and when we need to make an inquiry, those phones were answered, and if they were busy, they answered them back. And they've been at every meeting that I've been at, which is several times a week, with council of governments, with different organizations, of making sure our towns knew what to do during this crisis. I give them top marks. And when I was chair of the council of governments through the year 2020, what a year to be chair, they were invaluable to every single member town in their district. So I wholeheartedly would recommend this $54,638,000. I can open up for questions or comments. I'm not asking any of these organizations.
Are we going to handle these individually?
Well, yes, let's go down them
Then
individually.
I'd like to have a motion on the floor to discuss it. Or do you want to make a motion to discuss all of these items at the same time in one motion?
How would you like it?
I could move the motion and then we could
Yeah.
discuss it each individually. So I'll move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $212,417 for the following items, with the source of funds being the American Rescue Fund.
I'll second.
No, I have lots more to go yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a big motion.
It's a big motion, so. Number 1, $54,638, Ledge Light Health District. Number 2, $15,000, East Lyme Giving Garden. Number 3, $8,965, Southeast Connecticut Council of Governments. 4, $12,500, Save the River, Save the Hills. 5, $5,000, East Lyme Historical Society. 6, $7,500, East Lyme Town Clerk. 7, $83,864, Care and Share. 8, $13,950, Turner Tinker Post, American Legion. Is that right? Turner Tinker? Or, okay. I wasn't sure it was Tinker Turner or the other way around. 9, $9,000, VFW. 10, $2,000, New London Homeless Hospitality Center. And forward to the Board of Finance for approval, and this requires a town meeting.
No, I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Motion's been made and second. Any comments? We'll have plenty of comments. So let's start with the top one, and let's go through this in order, at least to keep the minutes in order, and also our thought patterns here. So the Ledge Light Health District, I gave you a synopsis. Are there any questions on that?
I'd like to inquire, this is a voluntary donation?
It is.
As they requested?
Yes.
And through the Council of Governments, have all of the other towns agreed to this as well?
To my knowledge, yes. It was unanimously supported by the towns. Now, again, every town has to go through this appropriation process. Some have a different process than ours. But yes, it has been generally agreed to. The towns will support Ledge Light in this effort.
And is this figure based on every town doing the same amount of money, or is it based on population figures?
It's based on the percentage. It's 1% of our total American Rescue Plan funding. So we'll receive $5,463,800, and you see where that figure comes from.
So then every other town in the district would be paying the same amount?
1%, not that number, but 1% of what they receive. Some towns will receive a lot more.
Yes.
A ton more, and some will receive less.
Okay, thank you.
And this includes the local and the county?
Yes,
Right?
yeah, that is a total amount on this one.
Okay.
That's correct. All set there?
Mhm.
Any other questions on the Ledge Light Health District funding? Great, we'll move on to the East Lyme Giving Garden. We do have members of the East Lyme Giving Garden here. I recognize them because for all the good work they do in our community. We did mention them too, that their purpose is to go out there, and you all know where it is by now, behind the Flanders Baptist Church, and they're growing produce, fresh produce, to donate. It's not a farm stand, it's donating back to soup kitchens and such. So would someone like to make a short presentation? Our proposal is $15,000 to help fund part of your many things that you have on your large wish list, if you will. Would you like to just speak about your organization, or?
Yes, thank you.
Come on up to the podium. You got to give your name and your address.
Thank you. John Holtz, 19R up Walnut Hill Road, President of the East Lyme Giving Garden Association. I'd like to thank you for this nomination for the money. We have a vision for the future that includes expanding our growing plot. We've provided over 3,000 meals this year so far. The season's not over. We're starting our fall planting. Provided to the shoreline soup kitchens and the food banks to give fresh produce to supplement the things like what Care and Share is doing. We have a vision for turning this into an educational venture as well for both ecology and nutrition. So this would go a long way towards advancing those plans.
Thank you very much. And as you can see on one of the handouts, that they have several different projects: an equipment shed, a high tunnel, a pavilion, which is kind of, I like the piece about it. Bruce Cohen and I had a nice long conversation about how this will be a teaching tool to inspire the next generation of sustainability and also giving, being selfless giving. and tools. And of course, they're getting lots of donations from other spots, but this seems like a very worthy cause to me. Are there any other questions?
In their justification, they have 4 different things. The equipment shed at 10,000, the high tunnel at 15,000, the pavilion at 7,000, and tools at 10,000. And we have 15,000. Looking at where we are right now, if we approved everything tonight that's in this, the request that we're going to be moving tonight to move to the Board of Finance, we'd be at $692,974 expended for the American Rescue Plan. And we're going to get $5,463,000, but right now we've gotten to date $2,731,919. I would like to see if we could consider giving them $25,000 for the equipment shed. I think they've done a good job of justification, and the high tunnel for $15,000, because that allows us to help them extend their growing season to the late fall, early winter, which we're getting into right now. There's no question, they've done a lot of great work. They're donating a lot of good foods and so forth like that. So I would like to consider bumping their request up from $15,000 to $25,000. So those 2 things would allow them to, continue growing into the late fall and early winter.
Comments? Opposition?
Well, I wonder, on the $7,000, the pavilion request, if they have made any contact with the school system or with the Board of Ed to see if they are willing to support this program, particularly with the educational outreach. And perhaps they would, perhaps we could table item 3 and see if the Board of Ed would support this as well, and perhaps split the money with us.
Well, I guess the question is, have they made contact with the Board of Ed yet? Of course, it can be educational without being part of the education system in our town. There's Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and youth groups that can be involved with this. But do you want to speak to that?
Yes. Once again, John Holtz, 19 R Upper Walnut Hill
You're
Road. So we have had a little bit of contact with the Board of Education, but given where we are with the educational program, very early, we don't have any concrete plans. We didn't want to ask them to commit anything. So we fully intend to cooperate with the Board of Education, but we didn't have anything concrete enough at this point to ask for funding from what they're already spending on and ask for diversion of funds from education in the town.
Thank you. Then I would be agreeable to putting this on the hold list until we get our second batch of money, and then bring that up again for the pavilion.
Well, I wasn't mentioning that tonight anyway. I was just mentioning an additional $10,000 so for the equipment shed and high tunnel to get done. Those 2 items.
But we have 4 items here, so
Well,
I understand what your motion is. I'm just asking for additional information.
Okay.
Kevin, I could support that.
okay.
Gentlemen?
No, I'm in support of it. What greater way to use these funds than to provide a source of food for those that are in need, and there certainly is a lot of it, and they're doing a wonderful job. I recall the presentation that was made before, and very much in favor of it.
Thanks.
So are we tying this to the 2 items that have been discussed, or are we, and are those items the top 2 priorities for the organization? Or are we just talking $25,000 that they'll decide how they want to go after the items that are listed?
It's a good question. Sure, Bruce, come on up. I mean, I personally would rather just give these organizations that have a structure to use this money toward the greater good.
Hi, Bruce Cohen, 31 Upper Walnut Hill Road. So we have a number of priorities. We're very much boots on the ground right now. So if you look at what's going on, and I hope you come visit if you haven't, the volunteer work has been excellent, but we need an equipment shed to hold our equipment, to not only for safety from locking it up, but from the elements. We're looking at a tractor that's essential for moving compost around. To date, we've been using external resources. ECCGA has been growing seedlings for us and doing a lot of work, hundreds upon hundreds of seeds and plants that they do for us, they donate to us out of their goodness. This is something that we need to own. And so in order for us to get plants on the ground early in the spring, maintain them during cooler temperatures, the other structure is very important. So we're not asking for everything, but the $25,000 will definitely make a big impact in terms of how we function and how we continue to push.
So it would be helpful to you if you just got the money undesignated.
The two
And-
items that Mr. Siri spoke about are the two
Okay.
that would definitely be actioned. The third item was a tractor. We're going to find a way to make that happen.
Okay, great.
Well, I'm also a bit concerned with the need for tools which would allow them to act more efficiently. And it seems to me that if you're going to have gardening, you need tools. And that's an additional $10,000, but I'd like to, I would like to see us designate the funds for the specific purpose that's requested. So if we vote for the equipment shed for $10,000, then that's what I would expect the money to be spent on. Just my opinion.
But in the spirit of what they're doing, can I just throw out that if the shed comes in at 9,000, they can keep the 1,000 and put it toward the greater good, not return it to the town?
Yes.
Okay, I did, just to be clear, because we're using round numbers, I want to make sure you hear that.
Or that they put that extra $1,000 towards tools.
To the next thing, right, to the next priority, but they're a well-run organization. I trust that they would use the money wisely in the order that they need it. Good points.
Okay.
So we're,
What I would like to do is we can amend, well, we
I don't
can
want to
say-
amend it to the end, because there's going to be some
okay,
other
we'll-
items. So
Okay,
right now, we're at 25
yes.
on the East Lyme Giving Garden. The East Lyme, the Southeast Connecticut Council of Governments, CCOG, has requested $8,965 voluntary assessment through the ARPA funding for a one-year period. So what they're going to do, unlike Ledgelight, they're going to ask for this annually. This was in addition to their regular bill of $10,537. They too have committed a lot of resources toward COVID and the recovery and the information that towns need to communicate. And all their money has, and all their time and effort has gone toward the relief. And they're also asking for 1%, but they're going to do this in annual chunks. So their request is $8,965. The answers to all the questions previously posed are the same, which is it's a percentage based on what other towns are getting. It is a voluntary thing. However, it was voted on unanimously by the Council of Governments that the towns will support this. Again, you have to go back to the appropriation process, so no first selectman or mayor can just make that decision without going through the process. But it is a support that we wholeheartedly endorse. Are there any questions?
So, I believe you said that this would be ongoing.
Yes.
For what period of time?
It's spelled out on your
I
your
didn't
sheets.
happen to see.
Couple sheets back. Voluntary assessment ARP funding for period of July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022.
Right.
There's this current fiscal year.
But is the expectation that this is going to be going forward and this is going to be an annual request?
This is more than likely, well, I'll tell you what, if they're, God, I don't know, we're all sitting here with Mass a year and a half later, and we're talking Delta variant and what's coming next, right? So if the recovery lasts that long, and their resources are out in year 3 and year 4, and they're still dedicating a lot of their time to this rather than planning and all the other things that they do at the COG level, perhaps they would make these requests. But they're doing it on an annual basis. We are only approving this one fiscal year's donation or assessment.
Thank you.
So they're asking, so next year when we get our second batch of money, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Then after this, so this is not something they're asking
Right.
for
So
indefinitely, just,
this, not indefinitely, certainly
Okay.
not. They know it's a 4-year deal anyway, and of course, we'll have 4 years to spend this, so we won't spend all the first batch of money in the first year, and certainly not. We have 6 years, I think, to actually literally spend it, 4 years to decide on how we'll spend it.
so just, if you don't mind, maybe we go back to, I just want to make sure we have the rationale for going back to the American Recovery Funds. So this one is to cover expenses due to COVID, communications to the town.
Resources, communications, everything related to COVID and its recovery.
And I would say that's the same justification we're using for Legislate.
That's correct.
And then for East Lyme Giving Garden, it's to support people in need.
Yes, very specifically food sources.
Yeah.
Sustainable food sources, fresh,
Okay.
sustainable.
I just want to make sure we cover that in every one of these bullets. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good point.
Mark, I have a question
Yes.
regarding the money the state hasn't distributed yet, which was assigned to counties, which the state now is going to control because don't have a county government. That'll be a separate,
We have that money,
we do?
right? We have 50% of the money that we're ever going to be owed, and the other 50% will come in approximately 10 months from now.
I didn't realize the
Yeah.
state had already.
They held off on the final figure of what we were going to get. They played with that carrot in front of us for a little bit, but when it came down to it, we actually got a little bit more than we anticipated. We took the county population and divided by the number of citizens we had in our town. We came out a little ahead.
Okay,
than
good,
we,
thank you.
Figured. But yeah, we're fully funded at I'm going to say round numbers, $2.7 million the first funding.
Well, I'm glad that was brought up because this definitely falls within the category then
Of
of
course.
using the county funds, which we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So
Good point.
So I'm more comfortable with this now.
It's a good point. That they do act as our county government. The COG does, and in fact have been designated as, in lieu of county, they are the county government when it comes to Department of Emergency Services and federal funding for emergencies like FEMA and all that. They act as our county. Situations like that, county government, especially transportation. A lot of federal transportation only works with county government, and Connecticut falls into that pocket. Save the river, save the hills is the next item. Boating is way up in the river, and it's way up everywhere in America right now. Rumor has it you can't buy a boat if you wanted to.
You can buy it, it's just about a 7-month wait to get it.
Well, there you go. With the increase in boat traffic in our river and our harbor, but also because good, clean water in our river and sound is important. The Save the River, Save the Hills has been responsible for the pump out boat duties, but it's much more important now when you really figure there's a significant increase in boat traffic. They need a new boat. They are limping along with what they have, and the boat that they've been using for a number of years actually didn't survive, and they actually went backwards and used an older boat that they had used, and it's all put together with duct tape. So they do have a request to buy a boat. It's a grant that's in already with the state. They have asked us to split the matching costs with Waterford, who have already approved $12,500 toward the boat, and that would be our responsibility as well, $12,500. They have some of their own money to make up any differences on the cost of the boat versus the grant, but it's all in the pipeline, and they're waiting patiently for our approval on the pump out boat. You have a document in your book.
Mark, did
That backs that
Waterford
up.
use the ARP funds as well?
Yes.
Okay, the justification for this is?
Increased traffic, that's one of them.
Increased
It's
traffic
also
due to outdoor activity.
outdoor
increase
activity,
because
that's
of COVID.
correct.
I would
It's
say public health as well.
public health
Yeah,
and outdoor activities is probably the bell you want to ding on that, just because that's, we're
Well,
going to
like
promote
the
that.
other-
Again, we're sitting here in Mass, and we're encouraging outdoor recreation, and we could be doing that for a number of years. And people have tuned into that. Golf courses are benefiting, and marinas are benefiting, and people are taking to the water, and our walking trails are benefiting, it turns out. So that's.
Well, this isn't new news. This isn't the first time we've
No,
heard.
no.
They've come before us before to give us notice that the boat was failing,
Yep,
and now it's on the verge of being
It's-
totally unsafe
it's failed.
to navigate. And we have a lot of taxpayers in our town that use the facility, use the river, and I think that I would support this expenditure.
Any other comments or questions?
Once again, the request that came in was for operating funds and for the new boat. Are we specifying this use for the new boat, or just providing the money for them to
No, it's
choose
very
between the two?
specifically for the purchase of a new boat, and it's the 25% match that they're looking for. Originally, I think the boat was 100,000. I think it's gonna be a little bit more if they outfit it the way they wanna outfit it. They'll come up with the difference through donations. But the 25,000 that they were looking for from the towns, split evenly 50-50 with Waterford.
And I think this is another great example, two great examples. One of regionalization,
Yeah.
two towns sharing. And secondly, again, we're looking at an organization that doesn't pay anybody. They're volunteers.
Mhm.
And
Yes, indeed.
I think I think they deserve our support.
Terrific. So, if not any other comments, I'll move forward on that. The next one I'm going to ask you to strike. This is the East Lyme Historical Society. And I'm going to strike it because they originally asked for $5,000. I'm in receipt this week of a request that's much higher, but will need to be vetted, as it talks about refunding of lost revenue, which is a rather complicated endeavor to use the money toward that. Additionally, we need to have that conversation that it's not really, the East Lyme Historical Society is not a town agency. It's an independent, incorporated agency, I do believe. So we have to decide whether we're going to be replacing revenue for other outside the town activities. It's one thing if the Parks and Rec lost beach activity. It's another if we're providing lost revenue for, well, a historical building that isn't town run, or the Cub Scouts, or East Lyme Little League, or someone else. So we need to maybe have that big conversation at some point. But tonight, they're not prepared, and I'm not prepared for that $5,000 historical society. If you would
Well,
strike that, please.
I would expect that this would come back to us.
It will come back.
One way or the other.
And Samuel Smith is, you might have that in your packet, there is a rather lengthy, rather costly list of needs for the renovation, restoration of Samuel Smith. I might have a challenge that while it is sort of an outdoor activity and sort of an outdoor park-like facility, I'm not sure the use of COVID funds to re-roof the building or to put the main beam in that they desperately need is allowable. So we're going to work on that. That's probably the next round of ARP funding. Okay?
Mark, with the Historical Society, I mean, I do believe lost revenues due to COVID is one of the allowed expenses for
Yeah, that's
businesses
correct.
and nonprofits, but I'd like them to also justify what they would use the money for.
Yeah. Yeah, very specifically, exactly. Yeah, well, there'll have to be a deep dive. Again, the restoration of funding or lost revenue is not just an easy, last year we made this and this year we didn't make that, and we need 10,000. It's rather deep, and the finance director will be part of that discussion as we go forward. It might be difficult, and it might be one of those red flags, So we'll go through that when it's time.
But yeah, we just gotta make sure we do it right so we don't
You
have the
got it
government
right.
knocking on a store for the money back.
You got it. The East Lyme Town Clerk happens to be here tonight. The clerk's office has made a request for $7,500 to electronically transfer some of the old items, the records, land records. This could be supported with work from home or work off-site opportunities. It will create a little less traffic in the building, but also, the handling of paper versus electronics is probably also safe in a pandemic situation. So if there are any questions, we do have Mrs. Galbo here who can answer any questions for you.
I have one question. So these are not for like downstairs in zoning, these are more like deeds?
Yeah,
Deed
land records, yeah.
But not, okay, just land records, so deeds.
Just land records, yeah.
Okay.
Right now, we go back to 1959 online on our website, which is linked to our land records company. It's called US Land Records. Anybody can go there, anybody can look up their deed, their mortgage, that kind of thing. Last year, we were lucky enough that we had just finished a project uploading a lot of the documents back to 1959. Our title searchers used it last year when we had limited hours, our appraisers, the general public. And I'd like to keep going. I'd like to go all the way back to 1839. This isn't going to do it, but this will get some more up there. So.
Great. Any other questions on this particular project?
I've looked through it and so forth like that, and I've talked to Karen about it. I think it's a great thing. I think digitizing is something we really have to look at, not only for her office, but I think we need to look at it for downstairs and building, zoning, and planning as well, because if you go in the office, the building planning office, the whole room is full of file cabinets going back 50 years. It'd be so nice to have those digitized so that we have some space and much more user-friendly for people who need to access it from off-site or online.
It is something in the master file of putting in a major electronic and file system downstairs as well. As we talked tonight, just do remember that this building is unsprinklered. It's unprotected building with these land records that are, we have one copy of them, right? I mean, this is the clerk's office.
They are microfilmed. Part of the cost involves them going to pull the microfilm and then indexing them and uploading them. But yes, I mean, the books themselves can be recreated, but we wouldn't want to do that now, would we?
No.
Would this
I would
eliminate?
only-
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'll wait.
No, I would, I think you've got, it's essential, and I use it often, and it's certainly the best platform out there. I've used other towns not U.S. land records, and they're very cumbersome and hard to work with, not intuitive, and I think you're going down the right path with it. And, for real estate transactions and commerce, if those records were destroyed, I just don't know what we would do.
Right.
And we're faced with this pandemic. It allowed title searchers and attorneys and real estate people to move forward and keep things moving. So very important to protect that resource and go back, if you can go back further years, all the better.
Yep.
Karen, once you have them electronically, can you access them from outside the building?
Oh, anybody can access them. Oh, yeah.
They're available online.
Oh, yes.
So it would reduce the foot traffic in your office as well, which is...
Correct.
Again, I know Mark's, Mr. Salerno's keeping track of COVID reasons for using
Yes.
this, and that would be one, is to reduce the foot traffic and ability to work from home, should we ever have to shut down again or reduce our hours as we...
I think that's important. I think Dan hit it right on the head too. I mean, he was doing land transactions during COVID, so that's a perfect example.
No, it was nightmarish. I mean, there were town halls you couldn't get into, and they weren't digitized.
That's
and
great.
What could you
Yep. Two
you were at a
questions.
standstill.
How much more to go all the way back to just digitize our whole history? We're gonna do it.
Right.
Why not do it all?
I don't know. I would have to have them look into that.
I'd love to know.
Okay.
We still have funds. Second, you had a request for an additional $6,963.
Yeah.
Do you need, so once we digitize, do you need to keep the originals?
Yes, we need the books. yes.
Okay,
But
can-
now, when I made that request, I wasn't really sure what fell under American
Yep.
Relief Fund, so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna throw that in there too, because it's gonna need to be done in the next couple of years. But I don't know if that does qualify or not.
Yeah,
Do you get requests
Yeah.
for the paper copies when they're already digitized?
Oh, you mean like, do attorneys come in and still make copies
Yeah.
instead of printing them
Well,
off the
do you
public
ever need
terminals?
to have to give them the original? Or
Oh, no, they don't, they can make a copy, the
Okay.
original.
So
The original-
once we do these, can we move these documents, say, to a different building, a storage facility?
Unfortunately, the
inside?
state of Connecticut doesn't allow that yet. There
It
are
has to be
some
on-
states that are getting on board with when everything's digitized, you can actually start to move the books and not have to store them in the
Right.
vault, but that is not the
So
case
not
in
now.
Connecticut, no.
Okay. Yeah, if you wouldn't, I'm interested, I don't know if anyone's interested. I just, while we got the money, let's do it all. I'm in favor of this now, but I'd like to know, just
Okay.
going all the way back.
Sure.
How far back?
We have
When
land
we found
record. They go back to 1839.
39.
Yes.
But we have records prior to that which are stored in Lyme, when we were part of Lyme.
They weren't East Lyme, they're not East Lyme's records, though. We're not responsible for those. If they're in Lyme, they're Lyme's.
Yes.
So, do people need to access things that go back to 18, whenever?
Sometimes.
I've had to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the beautiful writing. You try to.
Oh, man.
Right?
Not
Yep,
all the time, but.
yep.
So if we did this, would this eliminate our need to have records stored at Iron Mountain?
Well, that's where microfilms are.
Yes.
Yeah. So, no. They would still have to be stored somewhere safe. The
And how much-
microfilms
And
would.
do you know offhand how much we're paying for that?
That is through our land records company, the storage of that. That's all included in our bill for them, which is, I budget 16,000 a year for it, but it doesn't cost that much.
That's for physical storage?
Physical storage of the
Backup.
microfilm. Yep.
Boy, that would be
Back
nice
in
offsite,
if the
yeah.
state could modernize that, and we could store it digitally. Are these documents stored on the cloud somewhere? Are they backed up, or are they all on a computer here?
Our land records company gets, they back it up every night, and we also send them a tape backup once a month, at the end of the month.
So there's multiple places
Yep.
over the fire in one building? Okay.
Yep.
there it is. Thank you.
So what I heard tonight was $7,500 would probably meet everyone's approval, but we'd like to get a figure on how much more.
Sure.
So that the next round that we go through, maybe in a month, we can add to that. And
Sure.
then you can go out with one package and get it all done. So maybe you can update us.
Sounds
as
great.
you
I will
go.
do that. Yep.
Awesome. Any other comments?
And I wholeheartedly support this, but I'd request, Mark, going forward, are there any other town records that we'd want to consider digitizing as well, if they qualify use of this funding? It's an opportunity to get ourselves in a better condition across all of our records.
Yeah.
We should consider, I
You
think.
bet.
Yeah, I would think, expand, and this could be for the next round too, because, as I said, we're up at, it won't be too long, we'll be up over 1 million, and we only have 2.7 but for, until the next round, so, it might be a good idea to start getting some
At
costs.
least to get an estimate of what we think it would cost, then we can
Exactly.
judge it against other needs, or the next administration could, to make a decision of how much more we want to get in the done pile of
Yeah.
digitized records.
It's significant. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we go into those blueprints downstairs, and all the buildings and all the zoning codes and the buildings and plans. So it is needed. It is part of the master file that we will be presenting that. It's significant. If you want me to
We got significant
expedite
money,
that.
so,
It-
but we got significant money, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
If I could comment on that. So, you have so much money to spend, and you want to spend it in a way that, if you look at it as protecting commerce. And the greatest challenge to commerce is if we locked up the real estate system, and you couldn't have any real estate closings, and the movers, and all the people that depend on that economy. If that was frozen, we almost had that situation with this. The destruction and gross national product and all the things and revenue, it would be disastrous. Some of these other things, you know, a map, it might hold up a real estate development or something that, yes, that's important, but it wouldn't destroy the economy. Putting resources in the land records allows that process to keep moving forward. And that is the greatest risk economically, I see. Yeah.
That's good. You know, all those maps or blueprints or all
They're
that
important.
zoning stuff, just add to, just coming from the zoning side, not the lawyering side.
No.
But the enforcement part of every building that's ever been built, a commercial building, and not having, if something were to destroy that room downstairs, not having the ability to go back and say, you owe us, your lot's supposed to have trees and a fence and, was supposed to be so far off the road and have this many parking spaces and all that. And if that's all gone, your enforcement is gone. And I agree with you, the economics, it wouldn't be as great, but the quality, the value of the town, if you will, the beautification of the town would be in jeopardy, truly.
And then picture, all of those are downstairs, right? We
Yeah.
had a big flood event,
Yeah,
like we could lose
Like
all that.
tonight?
So, like tonight, 5 to 8 inches. So
I mean,
I'm
we could have
definitely, I agree with Dan, I agree with everything. I'd love to see what it's gonna cost to do the whole downstairs. And quite frankly, they're walking around file cabinets down there.
yeah,
It's a good
So-
point.
okay.
Would this also enable, we had, particularly planning and zoning, there are a lot of documents that are, you see them rolled up in big piles.
No, it would
Bound
take,
up?
it would take into
That
consideration,
would-
basically, every document
That
would be.
would cover those as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
That's the big cost, I
That's,
think.
that's the big cost of it.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Well done.
And I want to say, Karen, thank you for the great service you provided the town through all of this. I mean, you provided as much access as was possible, and it was very appreciated by at least the community that I work with.
I think we'll keep you around for another 4 years. Next on our agenda is or in this particular motion, is the care and share request. You have 3 pages of a very loose estimate. The situation is we've donated that space to care and share. There's no other space that we can give them in town. They need space, but we really don't have that. In the meantime, they've settled down and realized this is our space, and they are dealing with, what was a garage. And we fixed it up a little bit for them. They fixed it up a little bit more for themselves. But it's in desperate need, and if that's where they're going to be, they really do need proper heating and air conditioning. They want to redo their floor, their ceiling tiles. They want to make they're another organization run by volunteers, and they want to, it's not going to be luxurious, but it shouldn't be painful to go in and volunteer, and at times it is. They want it to be a professional site, but an organized site. So they want to, upgrade their flooring, the ceiling, the HVAC system, some electrical issues as well, and some of the shelving that they can make more efficient to make better use of their space. They've given us a full total package, and we talked to them. They came in and talked to the Board of Selectmen months ago, and we talked about how we probably don't want to get into the business of giving them operational funding. We don't want to give them money for food. They're well stocked and well supported in our community. But what can we do to make them more sustainable? What can we do to give them more to fund capital projects? And I think that's what we walked away with that evening. And what you have in front of you is their proposal up to $83,000, $83,864 for capital improvements, which include refrigerator, which includes an HVAC system for heat and air conditioning. It needs to be redone, a new suspended ceiling because it's a mess. There's an electrical issue in that space. They need to professionalize their smoke alarms. insulation, painting of the area, and then they need to redo the bathrooms, as what's been provided is pretty old school. And then there's appliances, refrigerators that they also want to fund. So that they have reliable working freezers and and refrigerators, especially when they get time to freeze all those turkeys, and they, God forbid something happens. I believe there's a generator buried in this as well. I don't know if anyone sees it. It might be part of the appliances and refrigerators. I think they want a generator as part of this, and that is in this package. It's hefty. It's one of the bigger gifts. It's one of the bigger agencies in town that has been there forever and been there for so many. And gosh knows, we all go to Care and Share fundraisers multiple times a year. It's well supported by the town.
This is a town building anyway.
It's a town building.
So, we're basically upgrading a building of ours that is in need of it as well. So, it's not just,
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It is a good point. They are tenants.
Yes.
$1 a year or whatever it is.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
they're tenants of this town property, which, for those who don't know, they're up at the Old Town Garage area on Roxbury and Romagna, down at the bottom there. There's just a couple very, very crude spaces that we were able to give them when we moved our Public Works facility up to Capitol Drive, up on the north side of town.
Well, with this too, I mean, this is, a lot of the requests from them, but HVAC, that's ours. I mean, we're responsible for that because it's still a facility that we have to maintain. So I'm kind of okay with most of this, or pretty much all of it too. And obviously, I remember they did point out freezers to us when they initially came to us,
Yeah,
that,
right.
doing that too, and they weren't looking for any, donations as far as food and clothing and that. They said they have no problem with that. And I think this is fairly explicit, is the fact that it's just basically for upkeep of the facility so they can continue to provide the services they do to the town. And they also point out to us how much they do as well, so I'm okay with this.
Well, I think some of the rationale is similar to the Giving Garden. I mean, you've got an organization that's dedicated, a lot of volunteerism, and they're doing it not for themselves, but to help people that are in need. And boy, we've seen a load of that in the past couple of years. And if we can support them, they're such an asset to our community, not just East Lyme, but the greater community. And so I'm all for it, and I know they really need this stuff, and they're very dedicated people.
I agree, they're very dedicated, they do a lot for the community, volunteers, but let's remember that we spent much money building a new public works building because we were told, and the public was told, that this building was virtually uninhabitable, that it wasn't suitable. And at that point, there was even some talk of tearing the building down. I think, buying things such as freezers or other equipment that might be able to be moved to another location eventually, but to put money into this building, which is decrepit, I'm not going to be able to support that. And I realize, again, here we are again in a bind with a need for buildings that we don't have, but I mean, this is a considerable sum to invest in a building that really has outlived its usefulness. And the fact that the public was sold that story, and myself included, that this building just wasn't worth putting the money into. Ergo, the need for a new public works building. So to put money into the structure itself, I'm not going to be able to support it. I might be the only vote out, but things such as I said, refrigerators, freezers, that sort of thing, I'm willing to support because those could be relocated to another location. Question is, I understand, the question is, where might that be? But in good conscience, having been on the board at that time, we told the public that that building just was not usable. So I'm willing to support part of the package. If it's going to be voted on as a total package for the $83,000, I'm not going to be able to support it.
Let me follow on to that. When we had them come before us, they also mentioned they may be running out of room. So even if we do renovate this in the future, it may not be enough room. I'm wondering. Well, let me ask the question. Are there other buildings that would be more suitable for them? And even on the second floor of the public safety building, have we explored that?
We're not ready to give away that space yet, and I'm not sure if that's going to work with a whole lot of different people walking through that
I
facility.
don't know either, but I'm asking the question.
Especially being on the second floor and elevator use and all that. I think, listen, they've been in that space for 10 years. And while someone may have made a comment at a public meeting that it's decrepit and should tear down, they've done amazing work out of that facility for the last 10 years. They're looking to spend another 10 years in that facility. They were inquiring about the space behind them, but we use that space. So that's where the comment of they need more space or would like more space. But they're making do with the space they have, and they'll be more efficient with some of these upgrades. There's many facilities in town that could be said have outlived their usefulness, with great respect, Mrs. Hardy. But we put money into renovation, and this would be money into renovation to upgrade them and to make them last longer. You know, our schools. I'm sure there's been more than one person that said that Niantic Center School has outlived its purpose.
Well, if that's the case, then we should have done that in the first place and upgraded that building instead of spending a lot of money for the other one.
The new facility is Class A, and it's outstanding, and having our trucks in the building at night and the many that we have, it can't be argued that that's not the best facility for them. But I know you sat here and made that decision, and I didn't back then, and I understand why you might say, well, this is what was presented, and I got to stick to my guns. I understand that, and I understand your position. I just think they're looking to upgrade their facility. It's not leaking. It's cold. It's a little unprofessional. The ceilings are kind of need some work. The HVAC system needs some work, but they want to be there.
How many square feet do they have?
I'm sorry, I don't know. It might be.
I'm just going to throw another one out there. I just want to make sure we fully vet this. We have a building by the high school that's going to become available. The Historical Society is interested in it for a museum, at least one floor. We may have a second floor there.
That second floor is smaller than the facility they're in right now.
It's small.
It's small.
So that answers my question there.
They could use both floors and not put the Historical Society there, maybe, but then you don't have an elevator in that building. You might have some of the patrons of Karen Share not able to get upstairs to shop or whatever or even volunteers, So I think the facility that they have they're not asking for another facility at this point. They're asking if there was more space adjacent to that, but they plan on staying in that facility. I think this investment of money, again, it is ARP money, it's federal grant money. Kevin points out most of these upgrades is to the benefit of the town. It is our facility. It's really small money for, other towns don't have a Karen Share. Other towns have to create an agency to go out and try to feed the hungry masses, which are occurring. We have evictions, which is becoming an epidemic in this country, and we have food insecurity that is on the rise significantly. And we're blessed to have Karen Share and only have to spend, in my opinion, only $83,000 to sustain them so they can do the good work that they've always been doing.
Well, I don't want to bring my personal practice into that, but I'll tell you, I deal with a lot of people that are in distress, and I know the number of people that they have helped out, and what a great resource they are in this town. That building, I don't think would have ever been adequate for a public safety complex, but if you can repurpose it to something that is useful, and we've talked about that before, having a vision to repurposing buildings instead of just tearing them down and make something useful out of them, this is consistent with that idea and that philosophy of repurposing. And it's for a great cause, and it's uncomfortable for them to be working there. I've talked to people that work in that building, And it's it's uncomfortable for them to put the hours in that they do and to attract other people and volunteers. You have to make it a decent environment. And this is a way to repurpose a building for, as I agree, not a ton of money, and money that if we can, from these funds, I think it's an excellent use for it. And for that reason, I'm very much in support of it.
Mr. Daigle, any comments to add?
I'll just make some comments. When I look at this, obviously, the equipment to be able to provide what they do, the heating, cooling, and air conditioning to make it a more habitable place. But there's some items in here that are beautification items, ceiling, painting. So we need to consider, are we looking to upgrade the entire work environment? Is that what they need? Is that the right thing to spend all the money they're asking for on? Or is it, do we take care of what they need to operate more efficiently to provide the great service they provide to the town? And the only other question I'd ask, based on Roseanne's question, is the rest of the building, structural, ceiling, roof, is everything else in good enough shape to invest about $45,000 worth of what I'll call cosmetic upgrades to the flooring and the walls and the ceiling? The insulation's good if we're going to do the HVAC. That all makes sense to me if we're going to invest that. But that would be my only question for us to consider or ponder. Other than that, they're an organization that does great service, and if we can make their ability to attract volunteers, their ability to efficiently execute the services they execute for, overall, I'm in support of it.
To answer your question, I've heard no reports of any structure problems. We use virtually the rest of the building for cold storage. It's, tractors and lawnmowers during the off seasons and stuff to keep them out of the elements, and supplies, fertilizer gets piled up, and all sorts of other things. It's a cold storage. It's a raw barn garage atmosphere, and then we sectioned this area off, did as best we could to insulate it. But it's it's in need of a little bit of repair.
I'm going to request that this item be removed from the overall list and voted on separately, as I cannot, in good conscience, I feel as though I would be lying to the public. I cannot vote on the $83,000. So I would ask that that be a separate vote, and I can abstain from that.
At the end, when we do everything,
Yes.
We'll calculate that.
I'll take, and then I'll make that motion.
Get your
at that time.
calculator.
Yep.
Any other comments on the Karen check?
Well, I think paint and the environment is important. You're attracting people to work in a volunteer situation. You don't want to, just be concrete walls and something that isn't, you're there day and night, not day and night, but often enough, and you're trying to work with people that are in a crisis. The people aren't showing up there are happy campers. They're in a crisis. And if you can have a comforting environment with the right colors, and it makes them feel a little more at ease, that's important stuff, and that isn't something to be tossed aside. So that's my point.
One question, logistics. It's a town building, right? So are we going to be gifting the money to Karen Chair, an intern? Karen Chair is going to, or will hire the contractors and
Correct.
such. Outside, do we?
Yes.
We must have to have a legal agreement, or it must be.
Well,
Yeah.
Is it more effective for them to do the work or for us to do it directly?
Definitely them.
Can they do that? They're public citizens. They're not town employees.
Well, they're not going to swing the hammers, but they can hire the contractor a lot cheaper than we can as a government entity with, the wage issues and
Can I take a recommendation or suggestion too? Since it is
prevailing wage.
it is a town building, I would like to make sure the town attorney is okay with the fact that it's a town building and we're allowing our tenant to do all this work,
I'll have the attorney review the
Good point.
contract we already have with them. As a tenant, they should be allowed to improve their space, and they're requesting for us to fund that. But we'll check all the
Is-
legal
I think Kevin's
boxes.
got a good point, and I would actually like to go down and take a look at it.
Is there, I don't
Sure.
believe there's any past precedent for that.
Well, they went in and they upgraded the space when they were given space. They've gone in and they've made,
Yes, but
all
they-
along they've changed.
They did that, now we're talking about a contractor.
No, they've had contractors in there. They've
Okay.
had refrigerator contractors in there. They've had plumbers in there to hook up the electric and the plumbing and all that for some of these big refrigerator items and all. And they've had contractors, just like any tenant in a building would upgrade their workspace, like I do in my work.
This is strictly a source of funding for them to accomplish what they want to do.
This is a grant to them for improving their space and doing more.
So no doubt, I think they deserve it. I just want to make sure we do our due diligence, and I would like to go take a look at the building. If anyone wants to
You
join
should
me,
always do that. Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah, I'll go with it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, good discussion there. Great discussion. American Legion. Kevin, you led the way on our veterans groups, and I really appreciate that as you met with both of them and really kind of honed in on what their needs were and how we could support them. It was very, very specific. We do want to support our veterans during this, and there's many veterans in our community that will be hurting as well. These organizations are a great outreach under any circumstances for our veterans, but they were hurt too. Their clubhouses, American Legion and the VFW, were shut down for 6 months or a year, and the networking that goes along with that and the fundraising that goes along with those was crippled. So the American Legion is asking for funding, very specifically $13,950. In your handout, very specifically, it's asking that during the annual inspection of the posts, this is for the American Legion, the post steam boilers, a leak was found internal to the boiler. The maintainer said it would need to be replaced, so they need to replace their heating system for an estimated $8,950. In addition, due to age and wear and tear, we're looking to replace the ice machine, drink cooler, and cash registers. We prepare to welcome our veterans and the public back to our hall. And it's a good hall. A lot of fundraisers happen there in our community. Fundraisers like Care and Share fundraisers and other groups will have fundraisers in there, and they're always generous to allow their hall to be used for those purposes. And that item is $5,000. That's where the $13,950 comes from. And they're asking for your support as we support an organization that's supporting others. Mental health, community, sense of community. They help with food. They help with connecting our veterans to medical resources through the VA, etc. So they again provide this social service that other cities have to provide, but we have it done by yet another organization in our town. So are there any questions about this?
I think that just so people know, the letter that they gave us indicated for calendar year 2020, their income dropped 31,800 over calendar year 2019, and for 2021 it's estimated to be about 25,000. They haven't been able to do, up until recently, breakfasts or dinners, and by shutting down the bar, the lounge, they get a lot of, when the National Guard is at Camp Net during the weekend, a lot of the National Guardsmen go over there. A lot of veterans in town and a lot of people, Pat, you can tell, go in there. They've lost the income in the bar as well. And, they've been pretty specific in specifying what they've not been able to do. Honoring fallen heroes or fallen troops at funerals, supporting local veterans with advice and servicing their needs. Here again, PTSD, those types of things. They've not been able to do that. And in spite of losing a combined, $56,000 over the last couple of years, they're only asking for $13,950 just to keep themselves back to where they can start doing things to generate the income. So, I think they've been, and Bill Weber's done a great job helping them too with his accounting background over the last few weeks, because I point out to him that they were in dire financial straits. So he went and volunteered to help them out there. So
That's really good.
really, yeah.
Any other questions on the American Legion?
Just another comment, you know, at the top of the list are what they do for our East Lyme High School students, the college scholarships. They provide a forum for the kids to engage in their thinking and speaking skills, and they also help care and share. So these organizations help one another, and so I think they deserve our help and the support from this program.
I fully support this. These two items allow them to operate, generate revenue to be able to provide the services they provide, which is so needed in the community. So this is, for a real technical term, in my opinion, a no-brainer and a good use of the American Rescue Funds.
I concur, and I think Kevin showed the tie to the COVID relief money.
Wonderful. Any other comments? We'll move to the VFW. Pat Hughes is also here, so he can provide any backup we might need. This is just another great organization that does all the above that we talked about, and they're requesting $9,000 of funding. They gave a list of $12,500, so they're giving us a discount. But basically, just like the American Legion, where they have tens of thousands of dollars in lost revenue, they're not asking for that back. They're just looking for something to support them as they try to climb back themselves. And much the same with the American, with the VFW. Hi, Mr. Hughes.
Sure. Patrick Hughes, 5 Red Fox Road. I'm the past commander of the VFW. I'm also the past East Lyme Veteran Council chairperson. What we're really looking at, I'm sure you all know this, the veterans, VFW is the #1 provider for services to veterans out there. And we're specified, really, we want to get our East Lyme veterans, get them access to whatever they need. You know, our auxiliary did the Christmases, the Thanksgivings for 14 families last year, 13, 14 families. And we're looking for, right now, our relief fund has been decimated due to COVID. Our roast beef dinners, our rentals have all been down, but we're getting back up there. But this will go a long way to get services done. We also have support the the Veterans Coffee House, the second Wednesday of every month, and we usually have speakers from the VA. We have speakers from Congressman Courtney's office come down and talk to veterans about services. And our veteran outreach, Brian Burridge, Officer for East Lyme, is phenomenal. He has helped so many people, so many veterans out there. So that's what we're using this for. We really appreciate the town and Kevin discussing this need, that we can keep doing the good work that we do. And that's it. Thanks.
Mr.
Thanks.
Hughes, before you leave, Commander,
Commander Hughes.
did I learn recently that the post was awarded a national honor?
Yes, this for the last 2 years, Cary Hill VFW post have been an all-state post, and what that means is that we've been recognized the top 10 out of the state, and this last year we were recognized as All-American. All-American, there were 3 in the state of Connecticut, and I think 50 across the United States. Considered all. When they say All-American, they look at what you provide to the community, whether it's to other veterans, to Little League, to the coffee house, and so we've been recognized throughout the whole country. You know, Cary Hill,
Amazing.
VFW. So it's a big accomplishment. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you for all you do in our community, for so many, including the veterans, but for so many. Thank you.
And Pat is probably the primary reason we also had a Memorial Day Parade this year. Pat is the one that took the lead on that. And a month before, there wasn't going to be one. Pat took the charge and energized the Legion and VFW, and you know, it was scaled back, but we had something for everyone to get out and enjoy. So thank you, Pat, for everything you've done.
We got that done, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, it was needed too. I mean, people were so depressed and those just have a parade and honor the veterans. That was a wonderful thing. And thank you for
A lot of people
getting
loved it.
it.
It was a great time.
Thank you.
Well, I'm prepared to support this with the caveat that the roast beef dinners come back soon.
Well, we're still limited because we serve family style, so we really are limited to doing that. We can't really serve that in this environment right now.
Yeah.
But we will be back. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Excellent.
Can we get make sure we get an invitation or call my office and we'll reserve a table.
Yeah.
We'll come back.
My first roast beef dinner I was about 17 or 18. I think Mr. Larson was in charge
Yes.
back then,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm not sure what his title would have been back then, but
Yeah, he was amazing.
Commander Larson, and I really look forward to those dinners. Those are great, and enjoyed them.
Thank you.
I never missed a meal.
Was it BYOB or?
Oh, yes, it was.
I was
17?
I was 17.
I was 17, so obviously not. Yeah.
I've heard the stories.
All right.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Any other comments? We can move forward. New London Homeless Hospitality Center has requested, this is one of those organizations that we have in our, we donate to organizations, subsidies. As you know, we give money to many organizations. The New London Homeless Hospitality Center is our area's, our region's homeless shelter. And we support them every year through our budget. But they've asked for an extra $2,000 this year. This would qualify, as we are helping those unfortunate. And again, the numbers are up. And you think they're up now, they're going to be up a year from now and 2 years from now. I think we have an obligation. We are not a town that's going to go out and build a hospitality center. We got to support the one that's in our region that is supporting and has a population, a census of East Lyme people at the hospitality center. So this is a no-brainer, I believe, given their very, very modest request. Okay. Any further comments? It's also something when you're over in New London and you have the time, I can arrange for you to meet the director, and you may want to just take a peek in. They do wonderful work for people that need that.
I would enjoy
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
We need to change the motion around a little bit.
Well, you're gonna amend that motion.
Yeah,
right?
okay, I'll just discuss things here. I know Dan and Mark, I've been to Karen Sheriff to the building, but they want to go and take a look. I know it would slow things down by a month, but do we want to table that
Sure.
altogether until the following?
Sure.
So everybody gets a chance, because the same questions we have, especially with the long weekend, by the time it goes to Board of Finance, a lot of those questions, and it's not fair to ask them to act on if we still have some questions.
I'll also ask Pat Payne to come in next time we present this. She is the director right now. I had a conversation with her today, my new neighbor.
My ex-neighbor.
And wonderful lady who's in charge of this, and she has all the details. She'd be happy to provide more. We had some unanswered questions like their space and their space needs, etc. So I'll have her come aboard, and I'll give you a chance to go rediscover the Karen Share facility.
Okay. I'll amend my motion as follows. Move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of Anna, you're going to have to check my figures on this, $133,553 for the following items, with the source of funds being the American Rescue Funds. $54,638 Ledge Light Health District. $25,000 East Lyme Giving Garden. $8,965 Southeast Connecticut Council of Governments. $12,500 Save the River, Save the Hills, and in like parentheses, I'd like to put pump out boats so people understand you know, what it's for. It gives them a little bit of either thing. $7,500 East Lyme Town Clerk. $13,950 American Legion. $9,000 Veterans of Foreign Wars. And $2,000 New London Homeless Hospitality Center. And forward to the Board of Finance for approval. Note, town meeting is required.
I will second that, and that I did have the same number, 133,553.
Yeah, that's a good number.
Yeah.
The list that we have, that we got for the draft motions had $1,500 for the Giving Garden.
15,000.
I mean, 15,000.
No, I already changed that. I just
25.
changed that in my motion.
We moved it tonight
Okay.
to 25.
25.
Yeah.
Yep.
133, 533.
Yep.
How many people are going to play that tomorrow? Can you play 6 numbers? I don't know. Any other comments? Oh, is there a second? Was there a second?
I had a second.
Mark
Mr. Salerno had a second, thank you. And comments or questions?
The only question I have is the ones that we approved earlier tonight at the town meeting had a town attorney letter that approved each and every one. Do we plan on doing that again, or is that a one-time thing?
I think that was
in
a-
the process.
I think there's a one-time thing.
Okay.
I don't think we need to spend attorney money on that. We have the authority as the appointed committee, the town committee, that will expire in December. And then a new committee will be formed, and it might involve more than just the Board of Selectmen, depending on the new administration's wishes. And, but we have that authority, and we have a resident engineer down at the end checking the boxes to make sure it all qualifies. But
I'm not a legal guy, but reading through the justifications that were provided for those earlier items, I feel these certainly
Yep.
fall into the same category.
Okay, one last thing. Can I make a request? Can we get in our packet every meeting a list of what we've expended, what we've approved at this board, and what our total is, a chart or something like that, so we could all keep track?
sure.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you.
On the Karen Chair withdrawal, is there a reason that we couldn't handle this at our next meeting if there's an emergency need,
No, that,
instead of waiting till October?
no, I meant by the time, if we do it at our next meeting, we'll go to finance until.
It's still
Oh, I
October
see.
until October.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please, like,
All
The
right.
timing just is, if we don't do it in the first meeting of the month, it always goes to the next,
Yeah.
because of Board of Finance's schedule. So,
Yeah, but I'd rather, wait and get all these questions resolved.
And if Karen Share does identify an urgent need for whatever reason, we can always ask Board of Finance for a special meeting for this particular item.
we
Okay.
do anticipate a small round in October. I don't think I'll propose anything in November, as that will be, just too close to the turnover, and it'll be actually a day after the election and all. And I think it might be prudent not to do it with the turnover happening. But in October, we do anticipate we will present a little more. Okay. We have a motion on the table. It's been seconded. We've had comment. Any others? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Terrific. Good work, committee and Board of Selectmen, and thank you for all the participants tonight. Thank you all. Thank
All
you.
you guys do.
Many volunteers in the audience tonight. We appreciate all you do for the town. Truly grateful for what you do.
Couldn't do it without you guys tonight, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
We'll take a 5-minute break as you move into executive session. So we're going to clear the room anyway. We'll miss how much you will do.
I have here.
I'll call the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen back into order. It's 9:23. We were just left executive session with no action taken. We're back in a regular session. Our next item is 2C, Special Appropriation of Human Resources. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve a special appropriation and transfer in the amount of $7,505 from account number 01-01-120-200-500 contingency to account number 01-01-106-100-211 HR Manager and forward to the Board of Finance for approval.
second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so thank you for that. Next on our agenda is ex officio reports. It is a late hour, and I know you all been working hard, but I also know that many commissions take some time off in the summer. We can hear some very minimal reports tonight if anybody wants to report. There are some items I know that needs to come into the public record. Mr. Daigle, would you like to start?
Yeah, I'll start with the building committee. They're still working to get the roof replacement scheduled based on availability of material, and hopefully we'll get an update on that. But there's no hard date at this time for roof replacement that I'm aware of. And on the Harbor Management Shellfish Committee, they're still working on the lease, renewal lease for Mr. Lonergan's lease out in the bay. And they're still trying to resolve the issue with the abandoned boat, so I know we have town attorneys working on that as well, so nothing to report as far as closures that I'm aware of. Oh, that's all I have tonight.
I know they're frustrated. I do want them to know, if they're watching and listening, that yes, the town attorney and I spoke again today. We're struggling with the marina owner, but who we're also in litigation with on several different items at his shop. So it's a delicate situation, but we are aiming to try to resolve that situation with the boat and the harbor management and the harbor master, and I appreciate their patience. And I'll leave it there. As far as the roof goes, thank you for bringing that up. The project has, the public safety building is kind of stalled a little bit. We don't want to put electronics in that building as we don't have a new roof on there. We're scrambling to find roof materials. I'll tell you that you were probably all present for the town meeting when we talked about the roof and the approval of the roof, and there was talk about 20-year versus 30-year, and unanimously everyone on the town building committee and the architects and the builders all said stay with 20 years. Period. I mean, I said, how do I present that? And they said, because it's not worth the money. Because you're really just getting a little bit better roof, but all you're going to do is get patching for the last 10 years anyway. If something goes wrong with that roof, they're not going to replace the roof. It's not guaranteed to be replaced. All they'll do is come up and have some guy patch it for you. And
Right.
you're better off taking the money and just tucking it aside and patching it with your own contractor than spending $20,000, $30,000 more on this roof. And that was the story I got. That was not my decision to make. We are scrambling for materials. The United States of America is out of building insulation. And we are scrambling for that. We are doing everything we can. I'm leaning on some friends to maybe find some falling off a truck somewhere. But we need.
Yeah, that's
we
not
need.
good. Yeah. I really don't.
We are looking for insulation, roofing insulation, and we will do this project right, and we'll wait and do it right, and not cut corners. So that's the report there. To just give those details. Any other reports to give tonight?
Just real quick, only because it pertains to us. The Planning Commission has a POCD subcommittee. They're meeting once a month to try to follow up on some of the POCD items to make sure they're not forgotten. And the last meeting I went to it, they requested I come because they were talking about, they wanted to look at anything in the POCD that could be funded under American Relief Funds. So I gave them a synopsis of what it can be funded for, what we've done in the past, what other towns are doing. They are coming up with a list of recommendations. They're aware that other commissions, like Water and Sewer, are also doing it, so they're not trying to step on anyone's feet, but they're just trying to find some small low-hanging fruit things that are in there that have been communicated to them that would be good and that could possibly be funded with ARP funds. That's all.
Thank you. Any other quick updates?
No, I'll pass.
If not, first selectman's report is a pass tonight. I've kind of already given it. Communications, public comment, selectman's response, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Seconded.
Thank you all. Great work tonight. Great discussions.